Picture this, a celebrity, beads of sweat trickling down their face, strapped to a lie detector. Hilarious, isn't it? The lie detector has become a staple of pop culture, a symbol of truth and deception, featured in countless Hollywood blockbusters and amusing YouTube videos. It's a familiar scene. The suspect in the hot seat, the polygraph operator asking pointed questions, the needle on the machine dancing with each heartbeat. From suspenseful crime dramas like Law & Order to comedic pranks on late-night talk shows, the lie detector has become a compelling prop that promises to reveal the naked truth, to unmask the liars among us. It's a tantalizing concept, isn't it? A machine that can tell truth from falsehood, black from white, innocence from guilt. But are lie detectors actually legit? Can they really distinguish truth from a well-spun tale? These are the questions we'll be probing in this video. We'll delve into the history, the science, and the accuracy, or lack thereof, of lie detectors. We'll explore how this technology, which was born out of an attempt to revolutionize criminal investigations, became a pop culture phenomenon. The lie detector, or polygraph, is more than just a prop in a detective story or a tool for YouTube pranksters. It's a device that has been used in serious contexts, from criminal investigations to job screenings. But despite its prevalence, there is much debate about its effectiveness and accuracy. Is it a foolproof truth machine, or just a piece of machinery that measures physiological responses? Can it be fooled, and if so, how? These are questions that have intrigued scientists, psychologists, legal experts, and the public for over a century. So let's take a moment to explore the history of these truth machines. Enter William Marston, a man of many talents, including the creation of Wonder Woman, and you guessed it, the lie detector. Born in the late 19th century, Marston was a psychologist, inventor, and comic book writer who believed he could measure deception. His fascination with human behavior and truth-telling led to the invention of the lie detector in the early 20th century. Marston's machine was a far cry from the sleek devices we see today. Picture a contraption with wires, tubes, and a drum that recorded changes in blood pressure as a person answered questions. This was the precursor to the modern polygraph, a machine designed to detect lies by monitoring physiological responses. Marston's invention was groundbreaking. It provided a scientific approach to something that had always been subjective, the truth. But as with any invention, it had its critics and its limitations. Marston's invention sparked a revolution, but how does it actually work? The lie detector, or polygraph, is based on a simple premise. When we lie, our bodies betray us. This intriguing technology, which has fascinated us for decades, operates on the belief that truth and deception trigger distinct physiological responses. The polygraph device itself is quite simple. It consists of various sensors and recording devices that measure and record physiological changes. These changes are typically linked to three primary indicators: heart rate, blood pressure, and perspiration. When you're hooked up to a lie detector, these physiological responses are monitored continuously. The heart rate sensor, for instance, is usually a simple blood pressure cuff wrapped around your arm, much like those used in a doctor's office. It measures the rate and strength of your heartbeat. Next up, we have the blood pressure monitor, which gauges your blood pressure levels. Just like your heart rate, your blood pressure tends to spike when you're stressed or anxious, conditions often associated with lying. Lastly, there's the perspiration monitor. This is typically a pair of electrodes attached to your fingertips. As your body produces sweat, the conductivity of your skin changes, and these electrodes measure that change. The premise here is that when we lie, we tend to sweat more due to stress and anxiety. So in essence, a lie detector test involves monitoring these distinct physiological responses while the subject is asked a series of questions. Any significant changes in these responses are interpreted as signs of deception. The theory is that if you're telling the truth, your body will remain relatively calm. But if you're lying, the stress and anxiety caused by the deception will trigger these physiological responses. However, it's important to remember that while this is the underlying principle of lie detectors, they're not infallible. They're based on the assumption that physiological responses are directly tied to deception, but numerous factors can influence these responses, such as nervousness, medical conditions, or even skillful lying. But as we all know, what sounds good in theory doesn't always work in practice. The lie detector is no exception to this rule, and we'll unpack this further in the next segment. The lie detector has its critics, and for good reason. While it's a fascinating invention, it's not without its flaws. One major shortcoming lies in the very premise of the device itself. See, lie detectors, or polygraphs, measure physiological responses such as heart rate, blood pressure, breathing rate, and sweat gland activity. But here's the catch. These responses can be triggered by a range of emotions, not just lying. Let's say you're a tad anxious, or maybe you're just naturally a sweaty person. These factors can send the machine's needles into a frenzy, potentially leading to false positives. In other words, the machine might say you're lying, even when you're telling the truth. It's like trying to pinpoint a mouse in a room full of elephants. The device can't accurately distinguish between the physiological responses caused by lying and those triggered by other emotions. But that's not all. There's also the issue of countermeasures. These are techniques that individuals can use to beat the polygraph. They range from physical strategies like biting your tongue or pressing your toes hard against the floor, to mental tactics such as doing complex math problems in your head. These measures can cause physiological responses that confuse the polygraph, making it harder for the machine to detect lies. Even the experts agree. Many psychologists and scientists argue that lie detection isn't an exact science and that polygraphs shouldn't be the sole determinant of truth. They point out that while lie detectors can be a useful tool, they are far from infallible. This brings us to an interesting paradox. With all these limitations, you might wonder, why do we still use lie detectors? It's a question that invites us to look beyond the science and into the societal and psychological aspects of this intriguing device. So, if lie detectors are flawed, why do we still use them? Despite their flaws, lie detectors have carved out a niche in our society. They're not just props for dramatic courtroom scenes or reality TV shows. In the real world, lie detectors, also known as polygraphs, are used in various sectors, from law enforcement to employment screening. Let's take a closer look. In law enforcement agencies, lie detectors are often used as an investigative tool. They can help guide investigators by indicating when a suspect or witness might be withholding the truth. However, it's important to note that polygraph results are typically not admissible in court. Why? Because they're not entirely reliable. Moving on to the job sector, certain employers, especially those in security-sensitive industries, use lie detectors to screen potential employees. They're used to verify the information provided by job applicants or to uncover any potential dishonesty. But again, the results are taken with a grain of salt due to the inherent limitations of the technology. Now here's where things get interesting. The accuracy of lie detectors is a hotly debated topic. Some studies suggest a high accuracy rate, with figures ranging from 70 to 90%. On the other hand, critics argue that the accuracy could be as low as 50%, which is no better than flipping a coin. The truth is, lie detectors don't really detect lies. They measure physiological responses like heart rate, blood pressure, and perspiration, which can be affected by a variety of factors beyond deception. Moreover, people can employ countermeasures to beat the test, like controlling their breathing or thinking about something exciting during control questions. And let's not forget that some people might just be naturally nervous, which can skew the results. So in conclusion, while lie detectors have a role in our society, they are far from being the definitive truth machines they're often portrayed as. They can be a useful tool, but their limitations and the debate over their accuracy mean they should be used with caution and skepticism. So, are lie detectors fact or fiction? Well, as with most things in life, the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Lie detectors, a tool of truth, or just another Hollywood prop? As we've journeyed through the fascinating world of lie detectors, we've uncovered their intriguing origins, examined the science behind them, and scrutinized their imperfections. Born from the inventive mind of William Marston, these machines initially promised a pathway to truth. The technology operates on the premise of physiological responses, a concept that sounds plausible on the surface, but its accuracy is a contentious debate. While lie detectors have become a popular form of entertainment, their real-world application in screening and investigations isn't without controversy. Nervousness can mirror the physiological responses of dishonesty, and countermeasures can be employed to deceive the machine. In essence, lie detectors are an interesting tool, with their own strengths and weaknesses. They're far from foolproof, and their reliability should always be examined critically. Next time you see a celebrity sweating on a lie detector, remember, it's not just about the truth, it's also about the entertainment.